right. Sorry about that, guys. Type. Okay, right. Yeah, okay, okay then. Yeah. Can you hear me now, guys? Can you type? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so what you're gonna do now for me, guys, you're gonna type Y in the chat. Yes, in the chat if you've traded before. Type yes in the chat if you've traded before. Okay, brilliant. We've got a lot of traders here. A lot of traders. Excellent. Excellent. Right. Now, so we've got a lot of people here who have traded before. Excellent. So I can go straight into it then. But of course then, we've got bullish pin bar, okay? And a pin bar is an elongated wick that stands out from price actions, okay? Now for me, the two most important candles for me are the engulfing candle and the pin bar. All the other candles, I just totally disregard them because they're, of course you've got the inside bar, but I totally disregard any other candles, okay? And of course, people will use other candles and still be successful. It's just a matter of understanding the market and understand what you're doing, okay? Now, if I then look at the next bit now is what I'm looking at, okay? Now, we have got what we call supply and demand zones, okay? And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you the start of the journey, okay? Now, say for example, I was looking, let's look at, say, the Euro Aussie, okay? Now, this was a trade that I was in, and this one closed out at stop me out and so on. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you from the start how I sort of look at my chart, okay? Okay, so this is my initial chart, right? This is my template. And what I do is I draw my supply and demand zones, okay? Because this is what I'm doing here. I draw my supply and demand zones, right? Solomon, you've got to make sure you're on mute.
Yeah.
Okay, make sure you're on mute, please. Okay? So what I do is...
Okay.
Okay, so what I do is I basically, right, I've got an... Solomon, guys, if you're making noise, I will have to take you at the chat. It has to be on mute, please. Thank you. Okay.
I'm on mute.
Okay. Now, okay, guys. So basically, what we're doing here now, I've got a indicator that I use to draw the supply and demand zones for me, to tell me where the turning points are, so that I can have a consistent way of doing things. Okay. So it's a consistent way of doing things. So what I'm going to do now, this indicator then draw these lines. You can use a zigzag as well. So once I put my supply and demand zones on the chart, right, this is what I then do, okay? And I'm not going to do anything else. This is where I'm getting my supply and demand zones from, okay? And just to clarify, right, what a supply and demand zone is, okay? So this is it, I'm done. I probably won't then change this chart again for a while. Now, if the market goes up to this point, this is what we call a supply zone. That's where people think that this market is very expensive and they don't want to buy it anymore. This, when the market comes to there, this is a demand, once it's coming here. But the fact that the market goes back up to this point, and when I say market, I'm talking about the candles. It goes up to this point, then we say this is in this case, a supply. And it's almost like the ceiling in the house. Now, the ceiling is like what we call the resistance. We can't really go beyond our ceiling. And then we've got the floor, which is, we call that the support, the demand zone. But I rather to use supply and demand, because that then sort of reinforces it with me. Resistance, it's a point where you feel like there's not going to be any more movements and so on, but the market can still go through a resistance zone. The market can still go through a support zone. But when you say supply and demand, of course, sometimes you might think that something is in demand, but then for some people, it might not be the case. And that's the reason why what we need confidence. So we need like either an engulfing or a pin bar or other indicators to help us to see which direction we're going. So we go down to this point, then this here and here is a demand. We go all the way up. This is a supply, supply, supply. But one thing I'm going to say, if we always look left, the candles and the way the market moves always leave some sort of clue where there will be some sort of turning point. Now, I either tend to trade the daily or the 4 hour, but for this chart, I use the 4 hour for this trading strategy. I use a 4 hour time frame. Okay, now today I took this trade here, and I got out of that trade. Okay, now all I'm doing here, I'm waiting, and of course this indicator, it does repaint, and that's the reason why I use the supply or demand zone to tell me whether or not I should go into the trade. Like here, I took this trade today, and why? Because it came back up to a supply zone. Okay, so if it comes, and also if you look now, guys, so we're looking to either, we know this is a resistance level that the market might want to turn around. We know this zone is also a resistant level. We also know that this could be a possible resistant level. I want to say resistance, as I said, a supply where we've got too much of something. Okay, now what is happening here now? The market pulls up and then the market comes down. But let me show you how simple this thing is. If you see higher high, the HH, now let's go back to this, right? Now, if you see HH, that says higher high, the highest high. Now let's go into a bit of theory here. Okay, right. Okay, so I also use this